Hungarians have been taken to the streets. They are protesting against what they say is the increasingly authoritarian rule of the Prime Minister, Viktor Orban. From far left to far right, opposition parties have come together after the government passed contentious laws. One allows employers to demand up to 400 hours of overtime a year. It's being called a slave law. Another piece of legislation will create a government-controlled court system. The government insists the new courts will be independent. Hungarian Foreign Minister Péter Szijjártó joins me now. Minister, good to see you, sir.
Great seeing you again. Thanks for the
Reality
invitation.
is you claim that these new courts will be independent, but nobody believes you.
You know, in Hungary we have democracy. We are a...
Arguably not, but we'll let that go.
What do you mean under that?
Keep going. Because the last election and the way in which the current government has manipulated the media, manipulated the courts.
These are accusations which I have to reject, definitely. We had a record turnout on the last elections this April. Almost 70% of the Hungarian citizens have showed up, and we have received 49.6% of all of the votes, 350,000 votes more than all other parties together in parliament after spending 8 years in office. So the Hungarian citizens were pretty much aware what we have done in the last 8 years, and they were pretty much aware about our plans, and they have made their decisions. So I mean, judging Hungarians is not fair, you know?
Your election results are starting to look remarkably similar to those that we would have seen in the Soviet Union in previous years.
Excuse me, why do you judge and why do you attack Hungarian people for their democratic decision, which party they would like to see in government and what direction they want to see for their country in the future? Why is that so that if the Hungarians decide in favor of Fidesz, a center-right party to govern, you put such kind of accusations on the Hungarians and compare them to a Soviet Union against which we have fought for 40 years to get out of the occupation of the communist regime?
I don't, with respect, I don't. The European Commission does in its Article 7, and the European Parliament does in its Article 7 proceedings against Hungary, in which it specifically questions the rule of law and the way in which it is being harmed. Now, let me finish the question, Minister, because we can put that to one side, Article 7 and all of that. The slave law, as it's being called, what makes you think that it is right to allow companies to demand employees work 400 hours of overtime a year?
You have said just before the news that facts come first here on CNN. I would like to ask you to take it seriously, because this is false, how it was written here and how it was said by you. Because this new amendment says the following, that the employees can make individual decisions based on their own will, on a voluntary basis, whether they would like to work 100 extra hours more on an annual basis for more salary. That's up to their decision, voluntarily, individually. That's it. Currently, the law says 250, respectively 300 hours can be demanded by the employers. And the new regulation says that the employees, if they want to do it on an individual basis, based on a voluntary decision, whether they would like to work 100 hours more on an annual basis. This allows the people individually to make that decision, just like very similar situation in Slovakia, our northern neighbor, where 400 hours is allowed, and like in Czech Republic, where 416 hours allowed to take on as an overtime on an annual basis.
That is not the way the law is being interpreted by people like Amnesty, by the EU, by those who...
But this is the fact. So I know, I was there in the parliament. The parliament has voted about that, and I know very well what is written in the law. The law says...
So everybody else is wrong and you're right?
I'm in here, you invited me, you asked...
No, I mean you personally, I mean the government.
You asked me to explain, and this is the explanation. I'm a member of the government, I'm a member of the parliament, I took part in the voting session, so believe me, this is written in the law, that on an individual basis, on a voluntary basis, people can work 100 hours more on an annual basis for more salary.
Payable when?
Sorry?
Payable when?
Payable at the end of the month, of course.
Well, even there's a dispute, isn't there? Because some say the law says it's payable in a year or two's time.
But it's another law, because it's another amendment, sorry. Because there were two amendments voted by the Hungarian parliament last week regarding the labor code. Another amendment said that the accountability period for the working hours will be extended from 1 year to 3 years. But it's just like in Slovakia, where you have 2.5 years, and some other European countries where you have a 2-year-long period. That helps to get adjusted to the manufacturing or service cycles based on the economic development. But salary you get at the end of every month.
So let's ask you for a yes or no question. You're telling me employees can refuse to work the extra overtime under the law?
The law says that up to 250 or 300 hours, just like until now, the employer can demand the employee to work as an overtime. But above that, up to 400, it's up to the decision of the employee, whether he or she would like to do so, or whether he or she does not like to do so. If he or she does not want to do so, he or she will not do so.
And the money that anybody worked would be paid at the end of the month.
End of the month.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes. At the end of the month, for sure.
Of course, you have an answer to all of this problem because Hungary's economy is doing very well. You have low unemployment.
We have full employment.
So if you took in more migrants, I mean, the argument about migrants, which of course is why you're here in New York, is migration is a way in which you enhance the workforce, certainly here in the United States. And it would be the same in Hungary if you were more open to migrants.
Well, you know what we think is that all countries have their own right to address the challenges regarding labor market or regarding demography. And our position is that we address this challenge through the family policy and through modernizing the education. This is our way. We have opened up the possibility, on a German pattern by the way, for a dual type of vocational training from the high schools already to universities onwards. I think this is going to bring a satisfactory solution here.
It's a shame that one of those universities won't be George Soros's.
What do you mean?
Well, I don't know too many countries that have, you do know what I mean, but...
but maybe the viewers do not do that.
Well, the viewer, quite right, sir, quite right. In which case, the way in which Hungary has created a situation in which the university started by George Soros can no longer operate in Hungary.
But this is a lie, you know? This is fake news. Because the university can and will stay in Budapest. They will continue their education programs in Budapest. They have all the necessary accreditation in Hungary to continue their courses and issue Hungarian diploma at the very end. Sir, what they cannot do is the following. They cannot issue 2 diplomas for the same course, because what they want to do is to issue American diploma as well, while not having school back in the US.
But the US in educational institutions have no problem with them issuing those diplomas.
We have a law in Hungary, because we are speaking about Hungary, law on higher education, which says that you are only allowed to issue a diploma of another country if you have a school in that given country. Notre Dame University, for example, operates in Hungary and in the US. McDaniel College operates in Hungary and US. CEU doesn't have a school in the US, so they operate in Budapest and they issue Hungarian diplomas. No problem with that, and they will continue doing so.
Final question, sir, because you've been courteous to join us this evening. Whichever way we look, it doesn't really seem to matter. Hungary seems to be criticised by all. If we look at well, let me finish, with the exception of maybe Poland.
I didn't say anything.
No, but you were about to. The EU thinks you are against or a danger to the rule of law. The protesters on the street are protesting against the rule that you says doesn't force anybody to work extra hours. The university has left, even though you say there's no reason for the... When I hear all these things, I'm always left with the question, how can everybody else be wrong and the Hungarian government always be right?
You know, number one, the Hungarian people has awarded us with a record support after 8 years in position this April. This is number one. Number two, we are definitely going against the liberal mainstream, for sure. I don't want to deny that. In Europe and globally, we are definitely not representing mainstream positions. And there's a revenge against us. There are accusations, allegations fake news, like what you have just said before, that university is forced to leave Budapest. No, it is not forced to leave Budapest. So there are many fake news and allegations being put on the country. But what really matters for us is the opinion of the Hungarian people. And if they support us, then we can be sure that we are on the right track. You just said that the Hungarian economy is doing very well. Look, this country had 12% unemployment rate 8 years ago. Now we are at full employment. We had a GDP growth of almost 5% in the last quarter, which is twice higher than the European average. The Hungarian people are supporting the government. So, you know, these external attacks on us can be considered as a revenge because of not representing mainstream and because of representing an anti-migration policy. This is my position there.
Sir, good to see you.
Thank you so much. Merry Christmas to you.
Well, absolutely. Whatever we may be discussing, we wish you the season's greetings and the very best. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.